Tonight only on 12 News, an investigation that we're bringing you in partnership with the Beam, an accountability newsroom at ASU's Howard Center for Investigative Journalism.
We're exposing Arizona's growing graduation gap, where 8 in 10 high schoolers are graduating, even though most fail to meet the state standards in math and language arts tests.
The Beam's investigative reporter Katie Wilcox joins us now to show how some of the most vulnerable kids are being left behind. Katie?
Yeah, our investigation found the system that's designed to hold schools accountable is masking how many students are failing to pass state tests and could leave low-income students even further behind. In the Tolleson Union High School District, graduation is a massive celebration.
I'm nervous, excited, happy to be out of school.
I feel like I accomplished so much.
At La Jolla Community High School in Tolleson, 88% of students crossed the stage to receive their diplomas in 2025. Even as public records the Beam examine reveal more than 3 in 4 students failed to meet state standards in 11th grade math and reading. The school is just part of a gap we found across the state of Arizona between the number of students graduating and the number meeting state proficiency standards in 11th grade.
That does not paint a bright future for our state.
The gap is even wider for low-income students, who make up more than half of all students in Arizona public schools, and the Beam found are half as likely as their peers to pass state standardized testing. At La Jolla Community High School, 54% of students qualify for free or reduced lunch based on household income. And despite their low test scores last year, the state awarded the school its first A letter grade.
Let's make some noise for our A-rated graduating class of 2026.
Tolleson Union High School District Superintendent Jeremy Kayas says his schools deserve high ratings.
Many of the students who come to us are already below grade level before they get to us.
He says the letter grades are not only based on test scores, but on student growth.
We've made significant improvement on the letter grade system because we've addressed issues like making sure that when students come to us in 9th grade, they are experiencing significant growth before they leave us.
And growth is one of the factors the state uses to determine a school's letter grade. That's because, as State Board of Education experts said, 10 years ago, the state changed how it rates schools to account for poverty.
The system prior to change had a really high correlation between low letter grades and student poverty.
Now the grades factor in how well schools help students grow, even if students don't pass standardized tests. It also includes points for graduation rate and proficiency, but a decade later, criticism of the system is mounting.
And this letter grade means nothing to me.
In June, an Auditor General report slammed the school report card system for potentially inflating schools' letter grades and giving A's or B's to schools with very low student proficiency. And the AZ school report cards provide a real incentive for schools. High letter grades can attract students, while lower letter grades can turn them away. And in Arizona, enrollment determines school funding.
We feel pressure to have high grad rates and high proficiency rates.
Derek Bosch is the Associate Superintendent of Schools in Yuma Union High School District, where 79% of students qualify as low income. And the Beam found the widest graduation gap among large districts in the state. And one high school is an example. At Gila Ridge, 91% of students graduated in 2025, but only 34% passed state standardized testing in 11th grade English language arts, and just 19% passed math. Gila Ridge is also an A-rated school, and Bosch says student test scores don't tell the whole story.
Because I've seen our kids in action, and I know some of them may not test well, but I look at other skills that they have, and I think they can absolutely be successful, yes.
Still, education researcher Peter Boyle says the graduation gap is a problem.
So if you're one of those Arizona students who is not yet meeting the proficiency benchmarks in reading or language arts, that's a very serious problem for you, and it's not your fault. You're a student.
And it's for Arizona's leaders to solve, not students.
You're in a system that isn't yet meeting your needs.
But leaders are divided. Republican State Superintendent Tom Horn proposed changing the school's letter grade system to tie letter grades closer to proficiency.
But I've suggested that if you have good growth but not good proficiency, you can get a B but not an A.
And do you think that would disadvantage these high poverty schools?
Well, B's not bad.
But Democrat state lawmaker Nancy Gutierrez warns lower letter grades could lead to lower enrollment. And lower enrollment means less funding.
It's a vicious cycle. We're not funding our public schools fully. And I think the letter grade system is used to try and tell parents that students aren't being educated. Students are being educated in our Arizona public schools.
And all this is only impacting public schools. Private schools don't get letter grades from the state, and their students don't have to take the standardized tests, which means we really can't say how they're performing.
So these schools hoping to get an A are getting A's from the Arizona Department of Education,
right?
Even though clearly the students are not as proficient as they should be.
Right. The state of Arizona has decided that we will have 11th graders take the ACT. And so that's the ACT, the college admissions test.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of educators who say that that's not necessarily fair. It doesn't really tell us how proficient they are. At the same time, they recognize that those scores are really low, and that's partly caused by this poverty issue.
Yeah, okay. And do we know anything about what's happening to these students after graduation? Is this having an impact on college enrollment? Are they having to maybe take remedial classes once they do get to college, and maybe, the workforce, are they ready for it?
That's a big problem that researchers are concerned about, because what we do know is that some students are enrolling in college and dropping out. We still have these pretty difficult dropout rates for college. And what that ends up meaning for people sometimes is that you have debt, but not the degree to go with it, which is part of the reason why a lot of these educators are concerned about the future.
Yeah. And I know the pandemic was a long time ago, but education was really disrupted at some critical moments for kids. Is there any tie to these low test scores and what they missed during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think that it's just been very sticky since the pandemic, right? So when we look back to those test scores since 2022, what we've seen is that math has actually gotten a little bit worse. So you can't maybe only say it was the pandemic. Reading has stayed effectively flat, maybe slightly better on statewide averages, but what we've seen nationwide is that some of these test scores are actually decreasing even before the pandemic started.
Katie, what about funding? We know that Arizona once again ranks near the bottom nationally when it comes to
for per pupil spending.
Per pupil spending, and once again, in the latest budget, it remains the same.
That's right. Yeah, our budget really didn't improve that, and actually what we saw is that enrollment, because of the decrease in enrollment in public schools, there was about $92 million less in funding for public schools just based on that enrollment calculation.
Yeah.
So our budget stayed effectively the same, not a big move to try to put more money per pupil into these schools, which is a big concern.
And do they think there's a correlation between the per pupil spending and the gap?
I would say it really depends on who you ask, but even Superintendent Tom Horn said that is the measurement he looks at. He thinks that the spending per pupil is what matters the most. When we talked about this issue, and obviously from the Democrats, for sure, they're thinking that it needs to increase significantly.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, because if they do change the system where an A equals proficiency, what's going to happen to those schools that are not performing? Are they going to be penalized even more?
I think that is exactly the biggest concern, is that if you're seeing that poverty, and you got to think about this, right? The teachers and even the students that I talk to, when you're talking about poverty, it might mean there's some instability in your home. Maybe you didn't go to the same school every year. Maybe you had to leave early to go to work yourself. Maybe you have a hard time getting to school. There's all these reasons why you might be missing school or starting from behind. And you may not have the access to things like tutors or additional outside of school kind of work. Maybe your parents are working after and you don't have homework help in the same way that other kids might. So what these teachers are saying is that when you're starting from behind already, what the schools are trying to do is teach students to grow and get up, get up to their grade level, which might still be behind what the ACT is asking for by 11th grade.
And if you don't get up to that level, the school still has an incentive for getting that A, so they may kind of look the other way.
And I think that is one thing that the educators I talk to are really insistent, that they do not want to simply pass students along. But I think that there's a real question on what measurement should we use to guarantee that students are actually getting what they need out of schools. If so many people are critical of this test, are we doing what we need to do to first give the students the education they need, and then also verify that they're getting the education they need?
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention, if she looks familiar,
Yep.
it's because Katie was a longtime reporter and producer here at 12.
An investigative
before
reporter.
Leaving us for the world of academia
Right.
over at ASU. But it's so great that we're going to have you from time to time here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Reporting for the Beam.
Reporting for the Beam.
And focusing mostly on education.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you.
Welcome back, Katie.
Yeah.
Thank you
Good
so
to see
much.
you. All
Good
right.
to see you.